All right, we're going to start with example number one. This is a very basic way to create the program of the Morse code of a student ID when a button is pressed. Now, this is going to be an example on how you should not write code. I will have an example 1B, which is the exact same coding, but with a little bit of modifications to make it a lot better. So let's start off with looking at the code. And looking at the code, this is the Arduino software that you're going to be using to write your programs with. For the demonstration purposes, I'm going to use a text editor. So it's going to allow me to have line numbers so I can pinpoint certain aspects that we're going to be looking at. Okay, so Arduino is really made up of two sections that must occur. One is a setup and one is this loop. So the setup is, in this example here, we have a couple of outputs. Those are the LEDs. We have an input. That's going to be the button that we're going to press. You can see that I have a few variables. This is going to be useful in figuring out what number in the student ID we are looking at and to know if a button's been pressed. So we then do this loop. We have a couple of functions here, if statements that are looking to see if the button was pressed and what to occur. And then I call print the flashing of the LEDs. And then I have some section to say, okay, do we need to flash LEDs? Digit 1 is the first digit in the student ID. And then here's some Morse code that's going to be occurring that we're going to be flashing for the second number, for the third number, for the fourth number, for the fifth number, for the sixth number, all the way till we get to number 8 in our student ID. Some way to increment it and get back to the beginning. Now in this, a lot of times when you first start off writing any type of coding, you start to think that having a set number of lines is important. Smaller the number of lines, the better your program is. In some cases, that could be true. So here we see this is 254 lines. You might write this to do the Morse code and you say, okay, this is real good. I got it the smallest I think I can get it. And while you do that, this is why I say this is a bad example, in that a lot of times you're going to be working with a friend, have a couple of group members, and I can explain all of this code to you, but I would have to sit down and do it. If you were to send this file to a friend, they open it up, they really are not going to understand what is occurring. The other thing is it could look a little bit difficult to kind of read because you need some type of white space. So just like when we write an essay, we have spaces between periods for new sentences. We tab in the beginning of paragraphs. We have new lines in between paragraphs. We kind of want to think of it as the same way in writing code. So now we're going to look at just a few modifications we could do. Still going to be fairly basic code, but it's going to make it a lot better for your group to work.